Tuesday and then Thursday. You're a whole lefty. How you gonna do that?
Sierra, your job is gonna be facing the material. Is that okay? Just turn because maybe you see it. You can. Yeah, you can scoot back out. I got you. Okay. Now we're gonna cover the new ideas for this one. This one's easy. Anybody can do this part. Okay. Bendy, how long you guys need? Marion, how long you guys need? Wow.
Yeah, but you gotta get the numbers.
Brandon, do you guys got it? Are you sure?
Ooh, I want to see you.
No.
Okay, so we're done.
Okay, I think there's another group who still need time. Benny, you got it?
Why do you bend them back, Jeffrey? I don't know.
Right, and you do that. Once you solve, that's why you gotta use the textbook. Once you do that, you got your. Right, and then for you to find your name, it has what is I want to see if you write a time.
Okay.
Is it 41 like now, like exactly, or is it 41?
41 point something. It's hard to get exact number when you have a pi in the internal things. Okay, so Jeffrey Emerson.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about trig ratios, and the trig ratio now I think they just switched to AT&T now. So when the spectrum from AT&T, I think the speed is enough for me to dive to live stream. So before it just kind of keep on cutting off, so I stopped doing that. But now we're going to talk about SAT topics for a little bit, because before we talk about trig ratio, like you have to have a basic foundations. So let's SAT topics, okay? Pythagorean triplets. Pythagorean triplet. The things about it, the requirement has to be a right triangle, and it has to have a specific ratio. If it's not a specific ratio, it's special size. The special size is all integers. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5 triangle. If you have 3, 4, 5 triangles, that means you got each size 3, one size 3, one size 4, one side, the hypotenuse is 5. This one here, the last one, the longest one is always hypotenuse. Okay, the longest one's always has hypotenuse. Now this is a Pythagorean identity. A squared plus b squared equal to c squared. A, B, C has to be in the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is facing 90 degrees, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But those are the three major Pythagorean triplets I asked you to remember. 3, 4, 5, 5, 12, 13, 7, 24, 28. These two are more often on SAT exam. And especially this one, almost always on SAT exam. or multiple of this one. So 3, 4, 5, it could be one of the Pythagorean triplets. The other one could be 6, 8, 10. Okay, it could be 6, 8, 10. Now the triangle inequality, this is the one that I use the chopstick. I says the longest side is the C. Okay, the longest is C. Now A plus B has to be greater than C to form a triangle. So that's called triangle inequality. The last one here, that's always on SAT, is a special triangle. Special right triangle. Special right triangle has 45 degree, 45 degree, 90. It has a 1, 1 square root 2, or 30, 60, 90, 1 square root 3, 2. Those are the specific ratio that you know, but SAT always have that in front of the book at the first page. They have those information. They don't have this information, but they have this information. We can teach you how to use it, but not today. So those are the right triangle and triangle, the basic idea that's going to be on SAT, so that's going to be relevant towards what you need to do. Yes, Jeffrey?
Mister, the last one you said 28, or is that?
25.
Okay.
Is that minus or times?
No, that's not minus, that's just 3 different lengths.
What's under the 7?
7?
No, under.
Adjacent or hypotenuse, it could be either one, but the last one has to be hypotenuse.
Sir. 7 blank 24.
Yeah, that's just 7, 24, 25. They are not minus sign, there's 3 different lengths. Okay.
How do you spell that? O-P-P? Or is that A-P?
Opposite, OPP.
So,
Okay, so let's start by understand a little bit. So I'm gonna erase something here. I'm gonna start from the very beginning. So I'm gonna erase this part. So this is a part that's actually more important. It's very boring, it's very dry, but it's very, very important for a lot of you guys as far as getting through this class. Like I said, anybody in this room is capable to do this class. It's just this part is actually less arithmetic. It's more thinking. If you can think, you can do well in this part. So there are 2 types of triangles. There are 2 types of right triangle. Not 2 types. I can change it 2 different orientations. First, the orientation is going to be this. So we're going to erase this part. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about those. Okay. So first, those 2 orientation. One is this kind of orientation. Is when data is on the bottom. When data is on the bottom, and this is a right triangle, this is one orientation. Actually, I prefer this one. But sometimes you don't get to choose. Sometimes the question choose for you says data is on the top. Or sometimes you need to choose the data has to do it on top. So here's how do you address which side is. A lot of you guys says, I don't know which side is hypotenuse. I don't know which side is adjacent, which side is opposite. Okay? Brandon, you gotta pay attention. This 90 degree is always facing what? It's always hypotenuse. So this one you should know. And this one you should know. But the other thing is, here now things start changing. The beta is right here, which is a preferred position. Not always, but preferred. But if it's right here, then this side is going to call what? So see, I hear different things, right? So how do you determine opposite and adjacent? Opposite is defined by this data. This one is opposite, which is opposite from the data.
So data is adjacent.
So if data is right here, this part is opposite. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to be able to define that. Now, this part is going to be adjacent. But what's adjacent in, I don't know, I think it's Greek or something. I don't know, some other language, but maybe English. But adjacent, maybe it's English, I don't know.
adjacent means like next to.
Yes, adjacent means next to data. So this one is adjacent to data, which is next to. Okay, So now let's learn how to define this one. What is this one? This one's a hypotenuse, so what is this part here?
Opposite.
Opposite, so you have to be able to read discipline and understand which side's opposite, which one's adjacent. This one's gonna be adjacent. So you learn that in geometry, but you probably don't remember it. Okay, so let's talk about names. What are the trig names? The trig name has this name. This name is called sine. But some people name it sin. I don't like sin, I like sine, because that's the whole name. But you write it as a sin. Okay? Cosine, I don't write it, I don't write it this way, I write it in the cos. Okay, but you read it as a cosine. Tan means tangent. Those are the three major ones in trigonometry. You learn that in geometry, but rarely you learn about this part. So here's how do you memorize this part. Pay attention. If you start with an S, you should end up with a C. And you start with a C, you should end up with an S. So you remember this part, you just say no, sine, the other side is going to be cosecant. Start with a C. Start with a C, you end up with an S. And if you have a tangent, it's just cotangent. Cotangent means opposite of tangent. Opposite is the reciprocal. Good job. Okay, so it's reciprocal. So now cosecant is CSC and SEC is secant, and the cotangent is going to be COT. Now let's talk about soh-cah. You guys know about soh-cah. This is very easy information. But do you understand why is soh-cah? What does soh-cah mean? Let's think about sine. Sine of theta. So the reason why I call SOH is right here. S-O-H. So, sine opposite over hypotenuse. So that's going to be opposite over hypotenuse. This is the theta. So we're going to call this as an angle. We don't know. We don't have to know right now, because right now all angles are known. We only pay attention on the ratio. This is the thing that this is called trig ratio. Trig ratio has sine ratio of this. It's opposite side over the hypotenuse side. Am I going too fast? No? Okay, I'll pause a little bit. Cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. That's a side. It's a ratio of the side too. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. Justin, you might want to write it down. Okay. Cosecant of theta, because you start with an S, right? You end up with a C. Think about a good acronym. You can think about sine, like maybe S and C. So S goes to C, C goes to the S. Pretty much that's the transformation it's going to do. And then this part is easy. It's reciprocal. You see this? What's the difference between compared to sine? They're reciprocal. They just change. They flip. They flip and they flip. So not extra memorization. It's just knowing that they flip. Am I doing okay?
Yes.
Okay, so they flip and flip and flip. Okay? So now, we're going to go through these questions. Okay, let's go this part. Is that facing here? No. So now we're going to look at this questions here. Is you got 13 and 12. And we say find 6 trig ratio. How do we find 6 trig ratio? Well, we have 13, we have 12. We need one more thing. So I'm going to give you like to be easy or hard?
Hard.
Easy.
Hard.
Easy, so we're going to be in a preferred position, which is the data here.
If you go hard, it becomes easier later.
Is that what it will look like on the test?
Yeah, on the test, yes. I will assign you where the data is. We're gonna give you a,
Yeah, can we do hard?
Make it difficult.
Yeah,
Data could be any number,
The
right?
difficult is just the data being.
exactly.
yeah, data will be on the set, so that's the only thing difficult. But we're gonna do a difficult on the next one, so this one is, the next one. Okay, so difficult will be on this side, so. So 13 and 12, yes.
Data could be any number, right?
Data is not a number right now, data is unknown. Right now, we don't know what the data is. But we only know this triangle, we can assign this as data. We don't know what angle is. You can actually do it to get, you can actually find out if you have, this is a correct measurement, this is a correct measurement, and this is 90 degree. There's an app on your phone can actually measure the angle.
Can't you do like inverse?
Yes, you can do inverse of sine,
Yeah.
and you can get that angle. And we can talk about that because we're gonna have to do that. Okay, so now you're gonna say, okay, let's figure out what is this. So we got 13, which is what? 13 is equal to what? Hypotenuse, right? And then this one is what? What is this called? Opposite, right? What am I missing?
Adjacent.
So can you find adjacent and can you find sex trig ratio? Sex ratio, huh?
5, yeah.
Why is 5?
Because
Pythagorean
5
trios.
13.
5, 12, 13, right, but I'm still gonna show work because sometimes not necessary is 5, not necessary is the right thing. So it'll be 13 squared is equal to 12 squared plus what? B squared, so B squared is equal to 169 minus 144, and B is equal to 25 square root, so that's equal to 5. So it end up to be 5, 12, 13. That's why I say memorize those ratio is helpful.
What does the thing have just
Okay, so sine of data, now we just have to figure out a ratio. Can you tell me the ratio now?
12 over 13.
It's gonna be what, 12 over 13? Does that make sense? And this is a 5 over 13?
Yeah.
And this is what?
12 over 5.
12 over 5. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes. And then the reciprocal, 13 over 12, 13 over 5.
13 over 12.
13 over 5.
Secant of data is what? 13 over 5. Tangent of data, cotangent of data is what?
5 over 12.
5 over 12. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I want you to try this one. I'm gonna name this as 3.
3 for 5. Boom.
No, I'm gonna name this side is 1. Okay? I'm gonna name this side, and I'm gonna name the status right here. Now, the only thing difference is you have to think about a couple things. You have to think about, you make it radical, and radical need to simplify. Okay, so you need to be able to simplify square root 12, for example. And then you want out to think about if it's on the denominator, then you should have been rationalized. You should have been rationalized. So if some radical on denominator, you should rationalize. So let's work out all 6 of them here. So, and later we can talk about all other things. This one's gonna be a little bit harder. So I'll give you some time to process through this. Remember, if you have radical, you have to simplify. Remember, you have radical on denominator, you have to rationalize.
Are we starting from the bottom or?
We're not doing from the bottom. This is the second question. We're gonna go to later here. This is a
Sir,
2.
why don't you put like the numbers for?
Did you
in place of
really
sin, cosine, and tan?
No, you just find out the sign of data is. You're trying to find the ratio right now. You're not trying to find the angle. You're not trying to find the angle,
So
not
you
yet.
put so like for our first one, you put 5 data equals 12 over 13. You put sin data equals 12 over 13.
Yeah.
No.
So you total have 6 of them. Yeah, we're doing this particular question. This is the second question. We're gonna get to later to find all the 6 trig ratio. I'll find all 6 trig ratio. So find all trig ratio. Oh, so that's like when you seek it. Yeah.
Do we have to solve for the square root?
You can simplify if you can.
How
Yeah.
do you get it?
You can simplify square root or whatever, right?
Hey guys, I already know what that is.
Oh,
Cause you get
yeah.
eight.
Tatiana, how about you do it?
Huh?
You haven't lived a pencil yet, Tatiana.
What?
You haven't lived a
Because
pencil.
right now I'm like really like I couldn't even focus in chemistry, so this will be fun.
Oh my god.
I'm actually really exhausted.
You think she's good because she's having a party in the
It's
morning.
easier than chemistry.
No, I know.
What do I do?
Like I get sort of how to do it. I'm just so tired.
And I think you should do it because you've been doing so well 3 days.
I know.
Alright, fine.
You have to rationalize all the answers too. If you have to,
That's mine.
Do that.
Whoa.
You know?
Six trig ratios.
What's the square root of 8?
I don't know. Do you know something about square root of eight?
Use the trap house method, that's what I did.
I'm confused. Subversion op,
I'm stuck in
13. I'm on the wrong problem. So one is the op, three is the height.
Whatever's left. Have that on there.
And then square root of two is the
Everything. Two people gotta go together in the trap house method, and then the one that's left over goes to the inside.
Yeah, so it'll be 2 root 2.
Mister, how do you like rap?
We're gonna talk about that.
That's,
You don't need to use calculator on this one.
I don't know, that's what I
How do you rationalize?
Ginger, what the heck are you doing? How about do the problem?
Yeah, that's easy. Do you have the rational?
You have to
So then you have to multiply it by.
Yeah, what does rationalize mean?
Remember.
You cannot have radical on denominator.
Isn't there like equal signs?
I'm sorry,
I know,
Tatiana.
I know, you can't have it at the bottom, but I just don't know.
I just don't know how to like take it out.
Okay, so,
Or like I actually. Remember when we used to do like
okay, did everybody got square root of 8, which is equal to 2 square root 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is 3 squared equal to 1 squared plus b squared, right? So b squared is equal to 9 minus 1, so it's 8. And then b is equal to root 8. And how do I get it out? So I'm gonna get 2, 4, 2, 2.
So 2 to the power of 3? Oh,
No.
2 to the power of
This one's gonna come outside, and one's gonna get shot.
2 to the square of 2. That's what I
Because
meant.
this one doesn't have anything. Okay? So now,
2 to the square of 2, yeah.
you should get that. So now let's write down sine of theta, cosine of theta, tangent of theta. What is sine of theta?
1/3.
This one's 2 root 2, right? It's 1 because it's the opposite. This one's opposite now. Label it. So you don't make mistake. Adjacent. So it'll be 1/3. That's equal to what?
1/3.
So secant is 2 square root of 2.
Oh, you said cosine, I thought you said is-
What is tangent?
2 over 2 1 over 2 square root of 2, that's 2 over 3.
Yeah, we're gonna rationalize in a second, so we're gonna cover that. So what's the other side of sine?
3 over 1,
No, but what's what's function?
Cosecant.
cosecant.
Okay.
3 over 1.
And this one is gonna be what?
Secant.
Secant. That's
3.
equal to 3 over 2 square root of 2. And cotangent is equal to. Okay, now which one do you rationalize?
The bottom.
Secant and tangent.
Okay, so we're gonna get rid of square root 2. So we multiply top and bottom by square root 2.
I literally can't say that in this year.
Equal twins.
No, ratio, not
Equal
ratio.
twins, remember?
So now square root 2 on the bottom is gonna be 2
Yeah.
times 2.
It's a ratio.
So it's 4.
Okay, but what do you mean?
So this part, I'm gonna multiply by square root 2. Square root 2, that's equal to 3 square root 2 over 2. No, 4. So the answer is 4.
What? How did you make your 2 a 4? Yo, that's cool. sorry. No, but that was actually cool. You like it.
I'm trying to feel I know why I'm not learning it, because my triangle is so
How come you only change? Oh, you only change ones that have.
No, I'm saying
How did
when
you-
we wrote.
I know
Look,
why I'm not learning.
look.
What is the base?
No,
What
you
is
don't know.
two?
When you did without.
We went like this.
No, no,
Okay, so what are you gonna tell me?
Right?
Huh?
no, the ones you just pointed out.
Oh, are you learning that?
That's the ratio of the tangent of data. It's gonna be 5.
But yeah, why is it 4?
So you need to have that.
That's how you need to write it. This is safe trig ratio. You don't have to figure out data. Not
I'll
yet.
go, but I'm not paying for that. So if I don't mind, right, I'm taking the bus.
Huh?
But I'm saying you only have to have that. So I can get rid of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, 2 square root 2, right?
Yeah.
So 2 times square root 2 times square root 2, right? Those two together is gonna be 2 times square root 4, right?
Yeah, and then, oh, okay, then that equals two.
How would you guys?
Alright. So they only do that when there are two square root twos and then
I only do it when there's a radical on the denominator. So when you have square root 2, that means a radical. On the denominator, you should rationalize.
that's why you did.
I actually was like,
Yes. Because I just multiplied exact same square root.
I can't go.
my mom.
Andres. How much time I have?
So 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Where did you get that from?
I'm trying my phone to see.
5 minutes.
minutes.
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes? Okay, so we're gonna talk about one more thing. We're gonna talk about one more thing. Here's one more thing here. The hypotenuse is always positive. It doesn't matter what you do, hypotenuse is always positive. You cannot say the same about adjacent and opposite. You're not gonna say the same as adjacent and opposite. This is like one of the most important secret weapon here. This is if you understand this, it's gonna help you with so much problems. Hypotenuse is always positive. And I don't do drug. I won't do drugs, but some people says, in second period says, if you high on pot, it's always positive. So,
I mean, but if you have like a bad trip, or is that the same?
But-
reason?
Yo,
And
what's
then-
so bad trip on pot?
but don't do drugs.
Yeah, dude.
Okay? Okay, also, that's the first thing. The first thing says hypotenuse is always positive, never negative. Hypotenuse, the hypotenuse is always positive. Make sure you know that. Second way is a butterfly is always facing north.
Ew, we have to graph at one point?
Yes.
That's
Oh,
disgusting.
yeah.
So butterfly is always facing north. We're gonna talk about this. Why is a butterfly is always facing north? Because the reference angle. So I'm gonna draw guys, this is very important. Hypotenuse is always positive, butterfly is always facing north. This, how do you draw a butterfly facing north? North is this way, right? This is north, right? So you don't wanna face sideways. So this is a right way to draw it.
Oh, pretty much a triangle on every side.
Yeah, but here's the theta, and here's the theta, here's the theta, and here's the theta. That's how you draw a butterfly.
Pretty much right angle on every side.
Yeah, but you have to make sure your triangle is vertical. Yes.
It's vertical? Oh, okay.
Okay, it has to face north.
When do you-
Some people you draw it this way, right? Some people draw it this way, and that's bad.
You're better.
They
When do
kill a
you-
puppy, mister, when they do that? Come on.
But that they draw this way is bad. It's facing east, and that's bad.
When do you use a butterfly?
Okay, we're gonna talk about why do we use butterfly, and we're gonna just start by talking about this question because I know this homework is pretty easy. You're still gonna have some homework from the past, from the before to review. But here's how do you draw it?
Guys, stop being disrespectful.
I just want to talk about this part. So -3. Michael, pay attention. -3 is right here. It's left 3 units. 1, 2, 3. Okay? -5 is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They say -3, -5 is on the terminal side. So that means it's going from here to here. However, I don't want it to here. I want to use a reference angle. Here's a reference angle. Reference angle is this point is going to draw to the origin. And it's going to draw to the perpendicular to the x-axis, not y-axis. So you're gonna form a 90 degrees here. And guess what? This part here is not 3. It's actually -3. And here is actually -5 because it's below. Now hypotenuse is always what?
Positive.
Positive. You can figure out what hypotenuse. But what is this side? Be careful, what is this side?
Quadrant 3.
Yeah, but I know it's quadratic, good job, but I know what's this side.
Oh, hypotenuse. Yeah.
What is hypotenuse?
It can't be negative, so it has to be
Positive.
positive 4.
But it's not 4.
It's the square root of 34.
It's square root 34.
You tried, bro. You tried a lot. Sorry.
I tried it. and every time
It's
I-
because he thought the hypotenuse was
Yes,
5.
yes, and that's how I can trick you.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you always gotta solve it out.
That's
Now-
what the
Now, wait, there's more. This is what a butterfly, this is the angle. Just like this butterfly right here. That's the angle.
We can move the jacket over
Okay, that's the angle. Now I can figure out what is everything now. Guys, I'm talking about something very important. Sine of theta is what? This is the angle, becomes opposite. So it's actually -5 over square root 34. Cosine of theta is actually what?
3, -3.
-3 over square root 34. This, anybody can do this.
But what is
Tangent of theta is what? Tangent is what? -5 over -4, -3, but please don't say this the answer because this is positive.
So, Mister, you would rationalize sine and cosine?
You will rationalize those, but they're not hard. And you can figure out the rest of the information.